Hey friends, Jessica here from Creators Couture. So in today's tutorial, we are going to make a Christmas tree, and I was just doodling around yesterday and kind of came up with this little concept, and I was just having some fun just playing around, and I thought it would be cool. And actually, I kind of like how it turned out. Now, this is not really a final kind of draft. This is more of a sketch where I'm playing around with my brushes, kind of discovering, but I kind of like it. I kind of feel like it has a little bit of a retro vibe. And mostly today we're going to be using my color blending impressionist brushes. And these are the couture fiber brushes that I created that were inspired by a haute couture collection. In fact, it was Guopé or something. And I was really inspired by the texture work and the texture, the fibers of the fabric and everything. So that's what inspired it. So to get started, actually, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to sample some colors. So I was over on Unsplash, and I just look for, I typed in Christmas tree because I want some Christmas tree colors. And I don't want to be figuring out color palettes and all that. You know, I always want to save time. So I'm using my screenshot thing, utility on my computer, Command-Shift-4, and I'm on a Mac. You can take a screenshot however you use. If you're on a Mac or PC, just Google it. But I'm gonna just select some region of this and maybe, and it's okay if it's super small. I just want to get some of that green. So I'm selecting from this one, and also I'm gonna go down here. I think this is the one that I use, but you know, you can kind of make some samples for the colors and then see which one you like the best. So I'm gonna take a screenshot here, and I just kind of want to get some of these greens. So I'm gonna kind of go in here and try to avoid the reds and stuff. I just want some green. So I'm making a screenshot here. So I've made two screenshots. In fact, I had taken a screenshot before. We'll see which one I like best. So I'm just gonna open these little screenshots in my Photoshop, and I am going to click Command M, or you can go to Edit, Define Pattern. I think it's a universal shortcut. And that's going to define these little screenshots as the patterns or color palettes for our color blending brushes. So all these colors are going to be spit out the brush. So I'm going to hit Command M. I'll click OK. I'm going to take this green, Command M, click OK. I do not need to rename them. I think this is the original one that I used. And I'll click Command M, click OK. And now I am going to go over to my demo document here. And I'm going to find my couture fiber brushes. And I believed I used either 16 or 17. First off, we need to go over here, get the pattern stamp tool. If you don't see it, it might be under the clone tool. Now I'm going to go up here to the top, and I'm going to grab one of my screenshot colors. So I'm going to compare the colors and see which ones I like. So let's just go for the different one here, this one in the middle. I want to make sure Impressionist is checked and grab my fiber number 16 brush. And now if you're a Patreon, yeah, that'll do. You will, you can download all these tools. And then if you're not, I'll have the links to the products. And let me just look at 17. I don't know if I used 17 or 16 for this, but maybe it was 16. That's okay. Now that I've got my color that I want selected, I'm going to take that fiber brush number 16, and I'm just kind of going to make a little bit of a tree shape here, and I'm not going to worry about it being perfect or anything like that, but we're just going to kind of fill this in. And it's cool because it's like puts all these colors that are actually from the tree. And oops, let's undo that one. So it's quite cool, and I'm not going to worry about it being perfect or anything, but we're going to kind of make a little bit of a tree shape here. And let's go to View. It's your window, Arrange, 2 up vertical, so I can kind of see them side by side. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm not going to worry about it being perfect for the demo. Let's flip the script here. I always like my reference to be on the left if I'm referencing something. And then we've got the right here. And actually, there's little bits of white in there, which I'm not crazy about, but it's okay. You can always go touch those up later or whatever. One way that I can show you how to do that, actually, is while we're looking at it. is if you go over here to the spot healing brush tool and say, I just want to get rid of that little like white bit, just go like that, and then you'll get rid of those white bits, so you don't really have to overthink it. So I'm not going to worry about it though. I have white bits in the other one and it's okay. So we have got that. Now we're going to add some gold into the mix with that, and that's kind of fun. Of course, you know I love to add some gold. It's always my favorite. So I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to go to my libraries here, and I'm going to get my gold palette. And so also if you're, this is from actually from my 24 karat gold collection. And if you're a Patreon, you'll have access to all the materials that I'm using today. So what I'm going to do is, instead of using my pattern stamp tool, I'm going to use my mixer brush tool. So let's go over here. We've got the mixer brush, and I'm going to select that fiber number 17 and make these little gold flecks in there. So I'm going to go over, and up here at the top, I'm going to go dry heavy load, and it's going to be fine. Everything's set. So then let's go to my gold palette, or if you are not a Patreon, you can just go find an image with some gold on it, you know, like some gold foil, gold glitter, whatever. So I want to have some, maybe some like lighter foil gold and then darker ones. But I'm going to go over here and sample for my mixer brush. So I'm going to hover over the area I want to sample. In this case, I'm going to get this darker part. I'm going to click Option, or if you're on a PC, Alt, to sample from that. So I'm going to click it, tap it, and that will pull up that gold into my brush there. Okay, so now that we have got that gold loaded up into the brush, we're going to pop back over here, make sure we're on a new layer, and I'm just going to go give it a little try here. That's okay. So it's got a little bit of sparkle in it from that dark. But you know what? I might take the spacing out a little bit more on the brush. And by the way, sometimes I'll adjust the brushes depending on, you know, like what I'm doing. But if you want to do the same thing, you can go to Window, Brush Settings, pop that up over there. And the first thing that comes up is this screen. And sometimes you can just, in this case, I'm just going to pull the spacing out a little bit on this side, make the spacing a little bit more, and make the go to scattering here and increase that, and I'm going to scatter a little bit more. Now let's just see where that's pretty good, because I don't want it to add too much gold. And also with this brush, you can change the pressure, makes it smaller or heavier. So I'm going to add a few streaks of gold, but I'm going to try not to fill it up. And that's cool. Just kind of adding a little gold. So might not look exactly like we see over here, but pretty much. So we add some gold, and then I want to add some brighter gold. So I'm going to make a new layer with my same brush. It's already got those kind of more spaced out settings. I'm going to go back to my gold palette, and then I'm going to Option and click, make sure your layer is selected on this bright gold up here. That looks kind of cool. And let's just, yeah, oh yeah, love that. It adds a nice contrast and nice depth. And I'm on a new layer, and now I'm just going to paint a couple strokes here. So having a little fun with that, adding some of those bright strokes. Yeah, I'm going to add some here in the center even. Oh, yeah, just kind of play around, see where it looks good. Sometimes I have to undo, whatever. I'm not going to worry about it being perfect again, but now we've got that nice depth, and I think that looks really cool and is really simple, and most importantly requires very little drawing ability, which is my métier. So we've got that here, got the thing, and now I added these little pink balls. So I'm going to add a new layer, and in this case we're going to go back to our pattern stamp tool. And I have this pink blend, which I actually just created for my last tutorial, like for some meters, but meteor kind of things. But I'm going to use that color palette. So if you want to kind of see how I made that color palette, look at my last video. But I've got this pink kind of color palette, and I just used it because I had it handy. And actually I liked how it turned out, and it's a little bit non-traditional and just like, you know, you don't see pink like a ton for Christmas. And I just thought it looked really unique, and it kind of makes it look retro even or something. So I went, let's go to my brushes here. And I think I used like Fiber 8. And I just went like this and created these little balls. And I think it looks cool, but I made them smaller. So let's just go like this. So yeah, I just kind of go like this, draw a little circle using your brush. And you can create these little nice balls. I don't know what else you call them, balls. It sounds kind of funny. But it's cool. They look different every time. Let's add one over here. Try to make it a little bit balanced. I think that looks quite cool. So we'll just add a few until we're happy with that. So let's add another one here. Yeah, and you can change the size or not press as hard and have like kind of a lower opacity. So you can kind of play around with that until you're happy with that. But that's like what we call good enough, except I want this one to be kind of in the center here. So I'm going to grab my rectangular marquee tool, just select this, and then go up here to the move tool, and I can move that a little bit. I don't know. It's not the most perfect placement, but you kind of get the idea. And so now for this one, I want to add some little sparkly stars on it. So for this one, I actually used some of my celebration brushes from a creative kit that I made, and they were the Twinkle Stars brushes. But for this, I'm going to go grab my mixer brush tool, and I'm going to get my Twinkle Stars brush. And your mixer brush tool should already have the same setting from before, which is dry heavy load, but right here make sure it says dry heavy load. And I'm going to go back over to my color palette, and I want these to be silver for a little bit of contrast. So I'm going to delete all the hide these layers until I get to my silver layer, and I'll just like select some silver from like up and maybe down here, no, up here at top. So I'm just going to option and hover over that, option click to load up some of the silver from this color palette here. And now I'm going to go over to my tree and make a new layer, and then just stamp some little silver stars around. And it just has a little bit of silver from the image, which is nice. And these are like, you know, there's a little bit of jitter on the size of it, so you can make them bigger and just play with them. So I didn't add too many, I think, on here, but just kind of had some fun with some silver stars. And then for the top one, I just increased the size a bunch. Now, if you increase it and you don't see kind of the detail here, that's because when I sampled it really small. So what I want to do, undo that, go over to my color palette and resample from my image with the brush at a bigger size so it won't enlarge and pixelate that. So I'm going to option click and get a new sample here, and that looks better. Although, there we go, that's nicer, it's straight. So that's the tree part. And now I want to do the background. Okay, so for the background, I'm going to go back to my background color layer, create a new layer above it. Now for this, we're going to go back to the pattern stamp tool. Up here at the top, I'm going to go grab my, my tree color that I had sampled from the tree image. And I'm going to grab like one of my big brushes here. I think it was like Fiber 1. And then I'm probably going to like lower the opacity of this layer because I want it to be subtle. I don't want to see like streaks, or maybe take the flow down. So let's go like this. This is cool. But you know what? I kind of, wait, no, I want the streaky brush, maybe Fiber 6. Let's check this. This is good. So yeah, I kind of just, it's cool how much the brush can do. So, you know, as you can see here, I just went around the background of the thing like this, but I want my brush size to be bigger, so I'm kind of looking at my reference here. That's cool. And I put the flow down, because see, if you have your flow at 100%, you're going to see like strong streaks. But then you can take your flow down and it's going to blend together softer. So actually, just to make this quicker and easier, what I'm going to do is double click my color fill layer, sample kind of a green from here so we kind of have this base green to go off of. Okay, and then I'm going to go to my layer, and actually I'm going to keep the flow up because I want to see these gradations, but I just want it to be subtle, more subtle. So I'll take the opacity down, and let's just delete that. And so we've got fiber 6. I forget what fiber 10 looks like. Oh, that's kind of interesting too. Maybe I use that fiber 10. Well, that's quite cool actually. So let's go with fiber 10. I've got my flow still at 100. And I'm just going to kind of make some brush strokes and kind of fill this in. And I kind of like making this like cross patch kind of pattern. So sometimes I'm going up and down, sometimes I'm going left and right. And let's play with the opacity even. So, you know, just play around, and we're just filling that background in. And I just love the kind of, you know, so much you can do with just the brushes. And, you know, instead of like taking all the time to make all these marks or something, you know, you can just do this so fast. So, and it's really fun. I think even I use some of the brush 6 here. So I'm going to go over, let's here, the same layer here. Let's go back to my thing. Yeah, I use some of this even just to play with some of the, I like that pattern that comes. Maybe that's too much. So let's just leave it like this. This is good. And now I wanted that we need something that contrast, you know, so the pink border made it really cool. So, that's what I was doing. No. All right, let's go back over here, make a new layer between the tree and the background. And now I'm going to go get that pink color blend. And I definitely think I had fiber brush number 6. And I just started. Yeah, that's cool. All right, we'll get a little slow poke with my brushes here. Hang on. Okay, so then we're just going to take that pink brush and draw some strokes behind this. And I'm kind of making sort of like the rough outline of a square shape. That might be too big. Take it down a little bit. And you can use your shift key if you want to make sure that it's like really kind of straight. So I am just drawing my little shape around here. And now don't worry if it looks too strong. And I just like kind of like the rough kind of aspect here. So we're going to take the opacity of this down a little bit to like 60 or something. But actually, like, I kind of like how it turned out rougher there. Like, I made it more all come to a rounded thing here. But actually, you know, you can play around with it. But actually, I like how it was on this one because it's got that, it's not like so closed off. It's like just these, I made these vertical streaks and then one here. So, you know, play around with it till you're happy. But I kind of like these spaces in it not being perfectly square. So you can play around with that like on your own time or whatever, you know, just mess around with it. But you get the idea. So it's just using the brushes to do the heavy lifting. Of course, this is my first sketch and, you know, not really finished or anything, but I just kind of, just to give you the idea, I'll probably mess around with it for my final one or display or make like a printable art off of it. And then this is my sample, my demo, which of course never is quite as good as, you know, my first samples because I'm doing it on the go, but you get the idea. And for this one, yeah, all the brushes that we used were in my Couture Fiber collection, and I used one star brush from my Celebration brushes, which I'll link below. But if you're a Patreon member, you can just download them straight away on my Patreon. It's Patreon, like patreon.com/creatorscouture. But I will link that down below and hopefully give you some ideas for some cool holiday designs. I kind of think this has, the colors especially, I think kind of has like gives it a little bit of a retro vibe, which is kind of fun. And yeah, just have some fun with it, play around with it. And if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below.